Yeah. Okay. All righty. It is noon. We'll get started here. Believe it or not, this is the 15th meeting of the Senate State and Local Government Committee. And before we call the roll, Senator Thayer has a guest, and so do I.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to introduce a couple of guests in the back row. Scott County Judge Executive Joe Pat Covington and the Director of our Emergency Management Services Department, Chris Runyon. Gentlemen, please stand so we can recognize you. Welcome.
Thank you. And I have a guest as well. My wife is over here to the right. So we're going to have a great committee meeting. I'll be doing everything right, and if not, she'll let me know. So, thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Here.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel. Senator McGarvey. Senator Schroeder. Senator Southworth. Senator Storm.
Here.
Senator Thayer.
Here.
Senator Wheeler.
Here.
Senator Nemus.
Present.
Senator Mills.
I'm here. And we have a quorum. We're duly constituted to do business. We have the privilege of having a bill for both the Speaker and the Speaker Pro Tem, so we're going to take those to begin with. So if Mr. Speaker would like to come up, Representative Osborne, we will take up House Bill 10. Introduce yourself for the committee and for the record, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm David Osborne, here to present House Bill 10, joined by Speaker Pro Tem David Meade.
Very good. Proceed.
House Bill 10 addresses an issue that President Stivers and I, along with our respective leadership teams, have talked about on and off over the last couple of years, and that is how to deal with the process of pre-filing of bills. By way of history, as most of you know, pre-filing of bills is kind of a relic from when we had biennial sessions, going back to a time when literally in order to get a pre-filed bill or a copy of a bill, you had to show up at the Capitol, pay your money to actually get a printed hard copy of it. And in the electronic age, it seems things have changed dramatically, and so it's maybe appropriate to look at this. If you look at the bill, I think it's on pages 3 and 4, looking at the stricken language down at the bottom, you will see that the idea of pre-filing a bill actually started with requiring a committee vote to actually have a pre-filed bill. It would take the majority of whichever body of an interim joint committee to file a bill. And again, that was when we had biennial sessions. It's been changed a number of times over the years, but it is now, I believe, kind of lost its purpose. And with the electronic age, people pre-file a bill, and I think that comes with some connotation that it has met an extra hurdle, that it's cleared some type of vetting to establish it as pre-filed, as opposed to what many of us just consider working documents. And so the thought here is to change this from the actual pre-filing of bill to a working bill section. It would be public. It would be we would direct Legislative Research Commission to develop a site that would allow for working documents, and as opposed to the pre-filing, which again I think it comes with in the context that it may be in its final version, that instead of it being presented to the public as having to pick a side to either declare you're for it or against it, if it's a working document, it invites the public to actually work on something, and it doesn't automatically get filed and introduced on day one. We see every year the number of committee subs that immediately come as pre-filed bills start getting heard, and it's because they once they're pre-filed, they immediately get introduced that way on the very first day of session. And I've seen a lot of really well-intended and actually well-considered, but maybe not completely vetted legislation that has kind of gotten derailed because people are forced to take that side early on, and it's hard to revisit that. So that's essentially what it does. It allows, at the direction of the Legislative Research Commission, we will direct the LRC directors to develop this new site and process for handling or working copies of bills, and that will replace the pre-filing.
Very good. Senator Thayer has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Welcome to the Senate State and Local Government Committee. I just want to say thank you for bringing this bill. I'm going to be a little more direct and say that the pre-filing of bills is a complete waste of time. People use it to achieve political goals, to get ready to run for higher office, and I've been tired of them for a long time. It's a huge distraction, and I'm really grateful to you bringing the bill today, and I look forward to supporting it.
Senator Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would concur with my colleague, Senator Thayer's comments. I mean, I think you bring up a number of valid points. I think that, sometimes when you get a pre-filed bill, it evidences a certain mindset, which may not be the case, and sometimes causes people to go into their bullpens prematurely, when in many cases these are merely a work in progress. So I think this new idea that you come up with will be much more effective in getting the people, all the parties to the table to try to craft better, more appropriate legislation. So thank you for bringing this bill.
Senator Southworth has a question.
Thank you. I heard what you said about this working document website and so forth, but I don't see anything in there in the bill. So is that like pass this bill now and later we'll set up the website, or is there going to be something in here that says LRC shall set up a website?
No, this will be at the direction of the Legislative Research Commission to the LRC director.
And is it going to have a timeline like the summer?
As soon as this is passed, we will direct the LRC director to develop the process.
Okay, thank you.
Motion on the bill.
Senator Wheeler, motion by Senator Wheeler, second by Senator McDaniel. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel.
Aye.
Senator McGarvey. Senator Nemes.
Aye.
Senator Schroeder. Senator Southworth.
Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you may.
I'm going to vote yes. I like the idea of the working document and everything. I just want to make sure, it bothers me when we vote for a bill that half of it's written and half of it's on faith. So I'm going in faith here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Storm. Good job, Adrian. Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Senator Mills.
I vote aye. And Senate Bill, or House Bill 10 passes with favorable expression 9-0. Is there a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
We have a motion by Senator Wheeler, second by Senator McDaniel. Senator Thayer,
Can I ask the sponsors a question, please?
you may.
Gentlemen, would you like this bill on consent, or would you like it explained in detail on the Senate floor?
Leader Thayer, I would never be so presumptuous as to tell you how to operate your floor. So I will leave that decision to you and your wisdom.
All right. We have a motion and a second on consent. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Your bill moves to consent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Yes, sir. Next on the item, if the pro tem would stay right in place, is House Bill 436.
Well,
Floor
thank
is
you,
yours.
Mr. Chairman. Since I was the moral support on that bill, I'll go ahead and present on this one, I guess. But what we have here is a bill that is for the auctioneers, as Judy Taylor joins me here. And what we're doing in this bill, the first thing is to create a biennial license. As you all know, last couple of years with the pandemic going on, we allowed the boards to move to a biennial license and have their renewal every 2 years. And so the auctioneers are wanting to make that permanent in their board and make it a biennial license and move the license fee from $150 to $300, not increasing it, but making sure that that's a 2-year license. Right now it's $150 per year, so they want to move it to $300 per 2 years. The next thing is that as an auctioneer, we have to carry a license, an actual pocket card with us as we're doing auctions. They're just saying that we're allowed to now carry a digital license with us instead of that pocket card. Next, we are changing how the board operates as far as their board hearings when it comes to someone doing something that may be illegal or is unethical within the auctioneering field. And right now, we currently have 15 non-medical boards in our state that have subpoena power and 15 medical boards that have subpoena power. So we're adding subpoena power to this board. The reason for that is because we have a lot of folks right now, or it's starting to become a problem, where folks are out there selling at auction without a license, and when they're asked to come in to present before the board, they're saying, you have no control over me, you have no authority over me, I'm not bringing you any documents, and I'm not coming in. And what it's doing is it's creating an issue that is detrimental to the public, because many times at auctions we sell guns, sometimes there's alcohol sold, and there are very strict laws when it comes to doing that, and that we have to abide by. And so what we are doing in this is giving them that power to be able to bring them in, get their information, get their documentation. If they feel that it's necessary, they turn that over to the proper authorities. And that is what the bill does, Mr. Chairman.
Motion on the bill.
Second.
We have a motion from Senator Wheeler, a second from Senator Alvarado. Are there any questions? We have a question from Senator Nemes.
Thank you. Can you explain the subpoena power? Who is going to do that? Is that the board member? Do they have a security person, AIG, or anything?
It would be, the board would make the decision under the chairman to issue that subpoena, and then they have officers that are investigators that would go out and serve those subpoenas.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado,
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel, Senator McDaniel,
Cast my vote and explain.
Yes, you may.
Cast an aye vote. I was going to say, if he's that passionate about the issue, maybe he should read the whole bill in his auctioneer's cadence for us today, but I think we're a little busy for that.
It's a short bill. I can get through it pretty fast.
I bet he can.
Senator McGarvey, Senator Nemes,
Explain my vote, please.
Yes, you may.
My aye vote. I'm voting aye, but I'm very apprehensive because subpoena power. That's a power that we should not be giving away lightly. And I'm going to assume that you did not do that, because that's really something I think we need to watch.
Senator Schroeder, Senator Southworth,
Explain my vote.
Yes, you may.
I'm going to cast an aye vote, and I have actually looked at the subpoena power issue in another board bill, and just wanted to clarify for our colleague. A lot of our boards do have this already, and I know that there's a big scatter among our state government with boards everywhere, and it's been a long-standing effort to try to get them all into one house, and they may not be all there yet, but that's the reason I can vote aye for this.
Senator Storm,
Aye.
Senator Thayer,
Aye.
Senator Wheeler,
Mr. Chairman, explain my aye vote.
Yes, you may.
Yeah, I like this bill. It's about efficiency, but I think I actually kind of like the subpoena power, because I think it shows a organization, and it's about accountability, something that I've really talked a lot about lately in some regards to some other bills. So I applaud the efforts there to make sure that the public's protected. So thank you for bringing this bill.
Senator Mills,
I vote aye. House Bill 436 passes with favorable expression, 9-0. Is there a motion for consent? We have a motion from Senator Alvarado, a second from Senator Storm. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Your bill moves on to our consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Yes, sir. Next, we're going to go up to the top of the agenda here with Senate Bill 339, which is Senator Smith. I didn't see you hiding behind the cameraman. And while he's getting his seat, members, make sure you vote with your mic on. We've had some issues with recording votes. Thank you. All right, Senator Smith, and introduce yourself, and the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Senator Smith, and I appreciate you taking time with your committee to hear this bill. Very brief bill. This bill just simply says that if you are in a historical area and you are remodeling or redoing your house, and you decide to paint that house one of the pre-approved colors, it's a color that's already been approved, that you may do so. Simple as that.
Motion on the bill?
Second.
We have a motion from Senator Alvarado, a second from Senator Thayer. Any further questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado,
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel, Senator McDaniel,
Aye.
Senator McGarvey, Senator Nemus. Senator Schroeder.
Aye.
Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Storm.
Aye.
Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Senator Mills.
I vote aye. Senate Bill 339 passes with favorable expression, 10-0.
Motion for consent.
We have a motion from Senator Thayer, a second from Senator Alvarado for consent. All in favor, say aye. 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 Your bill moves on the consent agenda. Thank you, Senator Smith.
Mr. Chairman, committee, thank you.
Hold on, we're catching up on paperwork. We're moving faster. Next, we're going to take up Senate Bill 343, which is Senator Wheeler's bill. And if you have any guests that want to make their way up, Mr. Larimer's coming to the desk as well. Gentlemen, if you can introduce yourself for the record, and the floor will be yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to have Gary Larimore from the Rural Water with me here today to speak about Senate Bill 343. As many of you all know, failing rural water systems have been a topic of great discussion throughout the Commonwealth. One of the water systems in my district, Martin County, has in fact made the national news as an example of a failing system with bad infrastructure, high rates, and a poor quality. And as a person from rural Kentucky, that's just not acceptable to me. So this Senate, this body, the General Assembly in 2019 and 2020 authorized the creation of a rural water task force, and that met over the interim for 2 summers. And Senate Bill 343 that you have before you is really the genesis of those discussions. Thanks to some of the monies received from the federal government as of late, we have really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to really make some investments in our rural water infrastructure to make sure that rural residents get quality services, but in a way that is both responsible and also has a certain amount of accountability. Senate Bill 343 is the direct result, as I said, as a result of these task forces. It's supported by the Rural Waters Association of Kentucky, the League of Cities, and KACO. It essentially accomplishes 3 things, each of which will allow Kentucky to maximize the benefit of more than $1.5 billion in federal infrastructure funds that we're eligible to receive over the next decade. First, it establishes a Water Maintenance Assistance Fund administered by the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority to provide assistance in both capital and non-capital expenses of government entities that provide public drinking water and wastewater services. The fund will selectively be used to address the non-infrastructure needs of consolidation of systems, and also to use the federal dollars aimed at infrastructure, including new builds. But it also is going to be used for maintenance, upkeep, training, debt, and other problems that sometimes must be resolved in order for the system to function effectively and affordable, and so that it's affordable to customers. Second, the bill amends KRS 224A.011 to clarify that the water associations are defined as governmental agencies, which will reduce the red tape and allow the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority to provide financial assistance directly to water associations, just as they now do for governmental agencies. The practical effect of the current law is that the county governments must apply and enter into financial assistance agreements with KIA in order to receive the funds on behalf of their associations. This will resolve some of the problems we've seen on local levels where the water boards perhaps don't use money appropriately, maybe not for nefarious purposes, but to make sure that they are properly trained and monitored as they distribute these funds. Finally, after working on the language with the auditor's office, it allows us to allows a hold automatically placed on cities for non-performance of required financial audits and statements to be lifted, but only for the purpose of receiving ARPA funds for water and sewer projects. This would enable the KIA and the Finance Cabinet and give them the ability to temporarily suspend the hold on these municipalities in order to utilize those funds that may otherwise go unspent. So, as stated before, this is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to repair our rural water systems, and I would encourage every member of this committee to vote in favor of this bill.
Senator Wheeler, you were explaining the committee sub, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so do we have a motion for the committee?
So moved.
We have a motion from Senator Alvarado, a second from Senator Nemus. on the committee sub. All in favor to adopt the committee sub, say aye. Aye. All right. Okay, we have a motion on the bill from Senator Alvarado. Question from Senator McDaniel.
So, gentlemen, thank you. And Senator Wheeler, I know you're passionate about this issue and have pursued, particularly as it relates to the Martin County issues, a resolution to that with diligence. My concern is in Section 6. This release, basically, we're going to release funds without folks performing audits that were otherwise required. What necessarily compels them to then go ahead and require the audits at that point?
Gary, would you like to take that?
Thank you, Senator McDaniels, for that question. In our earlier conversations, you and I talked about that very issue. In the original bill, it actually a little broader than what this language is. This language is basically a compromise with the auditor's office. But to answer your question, there's a process that's in place now. Right now on the hold, as of the last list that I saw, there's about 82 list, actually 62 actual cities that are listed on that list that have some issues. Part of that process is KIA, the finance cabinet, assistance providers. We work with those communities to try to get their audits for whatever reason it may be delinquent. What this would do is basically allow KIA and the finance cabinet to have the flexibility to look at those individually and find out what the situations are, not to hold up their ARPA funds. Right now we're having a lot of announcements for the funds as well. So we would like to go ahead and start that process. It's a slow process as it is, so this would just help expedite that as well. It would even could bleed over in a little bit into, well, mainly it's focused on the ARPA funds now, just directly for that. So there is accountability and follow-up, and it's the way I read it is permissive. So KIA and the finance, if they feel like they need to lift the hold to move a project along. Also, the ability to lift the hold would be if you have a situation where you have a project that's already taking place and something happens that the city is in non-compliance with an audit requirement, then the hold would be instituted. Well, this would allow KIA those to work with that city and lift it. So basically they would have flexibility during this influx, for lack of a better word, of the ARPA money that's come in. So,
Gotcha.
so
Very well. Thanks.
Thank you. Senator Southworth.
Actually, he answered my question, so we're good.
Did good. Okay. So we have a motion from Senator Alvarado. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Senator Thayer. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel.
Cast my vote and explain.
Yes, you may.
Guys, for now, I'm going to cast a no vote for the audit reasons. I mean, as we talked about in my office, it's been a while back. That's of great concern to me. If we can do an amendment, pull that dude out when it gets to the floor, I can be for it. The thing about ARPA funds is they just have to be obligated by 24, expended by 26. So, I mean, to me, that's even more of a carrot for folks to really get themselves there. I mean, we put that audit language in years ago for a reason, and I don't like to see it coming out. Like I say, Senator Wheeler, you've been a tireless advocate on this issue, and I know you're trying to strike the best compromise, and do appreciate it as a whole. Thank you.
Senator McGarvey. Senator Nemus. Senator Schroeder. Senator Southworth.
Explain my yes vote.
Yes, you may.
I'm going to cast a yes vote because I think that there's reason, but I would support an amendment if Senator McDaniel files it. I would totally support that because I think he's right. There's not necessarily as much need to be in a rush as we sometimes feel like we need to be around here.
Senator Storm.
Aye.
Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond to a couple of those concerns and cast my aye vote?
Yes, you may.
Senator McDaniel, I basically agree with you. I think accountability is of paramount importance to me, but I think that, I guess what I would say is that, stopping the project obviously is a great incentive to get your books in order. But on the other hand, there are people with real needs, and sometimes the cost of stopping a project can can actually increase the cost of that project. I think you still have accountability. This is not saying that the audits won't be done. It just allows the project to proceed in the interim. But I do understand your concern, and I do appreciate your support for the bill in general.
Senator Mills.
I vote aye. And Senate Bill 343 passes with favorable expression 9-1. Thank you, Senator Wheeler. Next is Senator Schroeder's bill, Senate Bill 212. And I believe you have a couple of guests with you. They'd like to make their way forward, and we'll have a few minutes. And then we also have some folks that want to talk in opposition of 212.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and I appreciate you. I know, Mr. Chair, you were aware I'm running back and forth between committees, so
Sure.
Thank you for accommodating me. We do have Senate Bill 212 here today. As you can see, it is an act relating to Kentucky Educational Savings Plan Trust. Members on the committee most likely better known this plan as the 529 plan. At its simplest form, what this bill hopes to accomplish is to move the administration of the 529 plans to the Treasurer's office. And to explain why this is a good idea, we have Treasurer Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've long watched the 529 program. I'm actually on the board of KIA, and I've often thought that this was better suited for the Treasury. I go to NAST meetings, the National Association of State Treasurers, and other meetings, and it's usually in treasurers' offices. I think about 59% of these programs are in treasurers' offices throughout the country, so the majority of them are run by that. And that's for a variety of reasons. One reason is most of us run our ABLE programs, and that's the case here in Kentucky. I run the STABLE program, which is the 529A, so it makes sense to have both 529 programs together. Also, most treasurers are the leading voices for financial literacy, and that is the case here in Kentucky. I have the Financial Empowerment Commission attached to my office, and it's the perfect vehicle to promote this type of a program. So I'm well suited to it. I've always thought it actually fits better with me than it does over at KIA. KIA has a lot of other programs, and those other programs really are more of the priority, just sort of something that I've observed over the years. One anecdotal example of that is everyone in my office who's had a child while I've been in office, including me, I've got two little ones, everyone has been advised to get their 529 accounts from other states. And I hear that from people all the time. And I think one reason why that's the case is it's just not been a focus over at KIA, and because of that, it's just not been emphasized, and it's not been, I think, managed to the best of its abilities. It was over the Treasury. I think that I could be more innovative and more responsive to people as an elected official. I think it belongs better that way. And then we could do things more like advisor sold programs, direct sold programs. Right now at KIA, I've observed that it's mostly handled by the vendor, Ascensus. We actually asked the 529 program last year to co-sponsor a segment of my Smart Women, Smart Money's Women Financials Conference last year, and they had to get approval from Ascensus before they could do anything. So Ascensus has been the one pretty much running the show. And as far as using any proceeds from the program, if it was at the Treasury, I don't need any proceeds, which is a great thing. That means fees can be lower for people, which is a great incentive to use a Kentucky program as opposed to somebody else. And many other treasurers, if they have any extra funds, they use it for scholarships. And it's something that I've long wanted to be able to do to offer more opportunities for people in a variety of programs like that. So that is a quick nutshell version of what it is and why I think it fits better with the Treasury. I do want to do one point of clarification really quick because this has come up a few times. The way this is drafted, the KIA board would still be the board overseeing it. The administration of it would be at the Treasury, but the KIA board, and that's just because it's easier and simpler just to keep that board. It's the same people if we were creating a brand new board who would be doing it, people like AQ, CPE, Finance Secretary, Treasurer, KDE, appointees who are dealing in education and finance. KIA would not have a shared role of responsibility. They're two separate things. It would just be the same individuals who are on the KIA board. So that's come up a few times as people have asked questions about it, and just want to clarify that. So that is a quick summary of what this would do.
Thank you. Any questions of Treasurer Ball? Senator Southworth.
Thank you. I had a conversation with your staff here last week about this bill, and I was trying to figure out it seems like to me we end up with what we talked about, at least, was dual ownership. So you, as a treasurer, well, actually, let me start with page 2. Administrator means the Department of the Treasury, so that was my first problem. I don't think the department can administrate anything. It'd be the treasurer or some identified, somebody under KRS 12050 or something. But if it's that you or the board can make decisions, then that you have a two-headed monster problem.
These types of programs are usually run by boards, and we actually modeled this on the Kentucky Prepaid Tuition Program, which was a board that was transferred from the Treasury to KIA. So the simplest way to do it was just do that same type of a shift and do it back again. But it is administered by the Treasury, and it's not unusual to be a Department of Treasury being the individual or the entity that's administering it. So that exists in other statutes. The Treasury would be the one that would be running it, and the Treasury is run by the treasurer. So that's how the administration would go. But it's not a two-headed sword. It is a board, just like the Commission, the Financial Empowerment Commission has a board, and is attached to the Treasury. So this exists in a lot of other statutes where you have boards that do programs like this, and then the administration is actually left to a particular department or agency. I hope that answers that question.
Possibly. Thank you.
Okay. We also have we do have KIA representatives here, and if y'all want to clear out and give them some room, Miss Erin Claire and her guests, I guess, if y'all want to come forward, you can introduce yourself for the record and just make your comments as brief as possible but thorough. And we thank you for being here. These are representatives from Kentucky Higher Ed Assistance Authority.
Erin Claire, Vice President of Government Relations for Kentucky Higher Education Assistance Authority and Student Loan Corporation.
David Lawhorn, the Program Manager for Kentucky Educational Savings Plan Trust.
Good afternoon. Diana Barber, an Interim Executive Director and General Counsel for Kentucky Higher Education.
Very good.
And please bear with me, committee. We have reached the part of session where I am running on Dayquil and Nicorette. So I haven't testified against anything in a long time. I might be a little rusty, but I wanted to give you some highlights. First off, the argument that the 529 plans are run out of Treasurer's office's majority is not really true. Alaska, Arizona, Colorado, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. None of those 529 plans are run out of the Treasurer's office. The argument that it isn't marketed very well is actually not true lately. Since we have been using Ascensus as the program manager, we are on track to have our best year of account owner contributions in the 31-year history of the program. For the first 8 months of 2022, the Savings Plan Trust is on target to have its third best year of new account generation in the history of the program. For the month of February, which we just finished, the program had its all-time high in payroll deduction contributions, and overall account owner amounts are up 15% from the last fiscal year. So really, I feel like this bill is a solution looking for a problem. The entanglement with what our board does and does not do, as opposed to where the program manager sits, really needs to be discussed with our full board of directors, which we meet at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I don't know if David wants to add anything, or I'm really best at answering pop questions.
Sure.
So I've got all sorts of documents
Sure.
with me.
Any questions for the board before us? Senator Southworth.
So we heard about other states having, I guess, do they have better offer or lower fees, or can you talk about, are we just barely getting off the ground now in Kentucky, and so we'll get there?
I'll tell you why a lot of people don't invest in the Kentucky plan is because we do not have any tax incentives. And that is something that I inherited as a legislative agenda item 10 years ago. I have not gotten much traction. I was always told that revenue items needed to start in the House, but maybe I'm wrong. So there is actually a House Bill 103, that would provide a tax deduction for contributions, 5,000 filing single, 10,000 filing jointly, as well as a small employer tax credit for employees that are depositing into employees' 529 accounts. So that's something, I kind of bend over backwards making all of your scholarship dreams come true during the legislative session, but I'd love to talk more about 529 accounts because that is in our mission, programming of removing barriers to post-secondary education.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Quickly, we still have 3 more bills behind us.
So the people that have accounts in other states, are they getting tax incentives somehow because of that, or even though they're not in Kentucky? I'm trying to get a handle on how in the world does that work?
I can maybe touch on that. So there are currently 6 states that have a income tax and do not have a tax incentive for those residents. The programs that partner with national firms like Fidelity, Vanguard, they market nationwide, and Kentuckians would, if they go online looking for a direct sold plan and they are already invested in Vanguard, Fidelity in their retirement, there's some historical data that I can certainly gather for you. That is something that compels someone to open a 529 from another state. Also, financial advisors. We offer a direct sold plan in Kentucky, and there's a significant number of financial advisors that sell non-Kentucky plans for valid reasons, but that's another contributing factor to why that takes place.
But if we had the tax deduction in Kentucky, then the advisors would sell the Kentucky plan to the Kentucky residents.
Okay, thank you.
Motion on the bill.
Okay, we have a motion from Senator Wheeler. Is there a second? We have a second from Senator Alvarado. Any further questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you may.
I cast an aye vote. I remember talking to some of the members from the Treasurer's office when they came in and discussed this bill with me. I opened these up several years ago with my children, and I remember asking which are the best ones. Kentucky never mentioned ever. And we set one up through Virginia and used those up for our children, and we used them for school and for schooling here in Kentucky, but that always has struck me. So maybe it is time for us to start changing the venue where this needs to be done to get, again, a better look nationally so people start looking at investing in the systems here in Kentucky. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Harper Angel.
Explain my no vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you may.
It sounds to me like it is not something that needs to be fixed, but needs to be assisted. So I am hoping for House Bill 103 to come over and get good traction. I vote no.
Senator McDaniel.
Aye.
Senator McGarvey. Senator Nemes. Aye. Senator Schroeder. Aye. Senator Southworth.
Explain my no vote.
Yes, you may.
This is a big question that really is a lot bigger. I think the issue we have is, where do we draw the line between the finance cabinet and the treasury? Because if you think about their names, they're identical. We need to figure out what authority goes where and not start splitting off piecemeal. I think we need to really be a lot more comprehensive about this. So I kind of hesitate to just say, let's chip off this one little piece. If we need to move big parts, does Kia need to be under the treasury? I mean, those are the questions we need to be asking. And if that's the case, then we could actually keep all this stuff together instead of have it all piecemeal. So I'm no vote right now.
Senator Storm.
Aye.
Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Senator Mills.
I vote aye. Senate Bill 212 passes with favorable expression 8-2, and same shall pass on to the Senate floor. Thank you to both sides for discussing this matter. Then we have 3 more items, and they're all pension related, and they all have the same sponsor, Representative Jerry Miller. And if he would like to move forward, we're going to take up House Bill 49 first.
A lot of Jerry Miller bills.
It's my last show, leader.
And this bill does not have a committee sub, so that's.
That is correct.
All righty. Representative Miller, the floor is yours. If you want to introduce your guests or have them introduce themselves.
I will let them introduce themselves. Jerry Miller from the 36th House District.
Ryan Straw, Vice President, Governmental Affairs Director for the Fraternal Order of Police.
Brian O'Neill, Legislative Director for the Kentucky Professional Firefighters.
Thank you, gentlemen. The floor is yours.
The background for the bill is
The General Assembly passed spiking provisions in 2013. They've been amended several times, originally designed to mitigate the impact of members who in the last years of their employment worked significant amount of voluntary overtime in order to boost their creditable comp on which their pension is based. 2018 was amended to create a look-back period and limited spikes above 10% of their 5-year average, except in certain cases. We look back to May of 2000. Civil unrest, including demonstrations and rioting, caused Mayor Greg Fisher to declare a state of emergency and order LMPD to work mandatory 12 on, 12 off shifts. And while Governor Beshear sent in the National Guard, he did not declare a state of emergency, which would have qualified the mandatory overtime as an appropriate exemption from the spiking calculation. In other areas, various situations like the tornadoes caused local officials to dictate mandatory overtime for their employees without the qualifying state of emergency declarations. What this bill does is it creates an exemption for mandatory overtime hours worked above 100 per fiscal year. 2, it adds the governor mobilizing the Kentucky National Guard as an exception, regardless if he or she declares an emergency. And Section 2 makes it retroactive to May 28th of 2020, which was the date that the governor sent in the National Guard to Louisville.
Motion on the bill.
We have a motion from Senator McDaniel, a second from Senator Nemes. Any further questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel.
Aye.
Senator McGarvey. Senator Nemes.
Aye.
Senator Schroeder. Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Storm.
Aye.
Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler. Aye. Senator Mills.
I vote aye, and House Bill 49 passes with favorable expression 9-0. We have a motion for consent from Senator Nemes, second from Senator Alvarado. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The bill moves on to our consent calendar. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All righty. The next bill for Representative Miller is House Bill 76. This has a committee sub on it, so if we would like to adopt the committee sub, is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Second from Senator Storm. Motion by Senator Alvarado, second by Senator Storm. Representative Miller, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As provided by state law, our state
Hold
administered.
on, excuse me. We need to vote on we need to have a voice vote on the committee sub. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Now it's
Thank you.
adopted.
As provided by state law, our state-administered retirement systems are required to undergo what's called an actuarial experience study. A few years ago, the General Assembly did the good work and created a standardized approach to actuarial reporting by the systems, which included requiring each system to perform an actuarial experience study at least once every 5 years and to standardize reporting to the public, including the General Assembly. Those assumptions fall into 2 buckets: one, economic assumptions, and second, demographic assumptions. And it is the demographic assumptions that are very costly. They require an actuary, a lot of data, again, very costly. Since 2016, we've seen some relatively large changes in both the economic and demographic assumptions in our largest state systems, requiring immediate action on the budget side. The bill before you attempts to smooth any future large impacts by having the economic assumptions reviewed by experience study once every 2 years for financial, while retaining the 5-year review for demographic assumptions. Again, that is the very costly element of that. The every 2 years is to put it on the same cycle as our budget. 2/3 of the impact that we've seen over the last several actuarial adjustments have come from the financial assumption changes. Proposed changes in this bill will not affect the current biennium, but will impact fiscal year 2024 and beyond. In recent history, again, we saw the TRS experience study of this. Roughly 2/3 of that projected cost was due to an assumption change. It was economic in nature, and roughly 1/3 was demographic. JFRS was unusual in that the largest impact was demographic. And then the KRS were, again, largely financial in nature.
Senator McDaniel was the sponsor of the sub, and he can explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the bill sponsor as well for allowing me to piggyback onto this. The whole of the changes to the sub is on page 37. And you'll see bolded there. And basically what this relates to is a very, very, very small contingent of engineers in the state who basically were bound to the Commonwealth as a nature of their education under a particular forgiveness program. It is believed that, and there were representations made at that point in time, that via later legislative change that occurred prior to their ability to actually enter into employment in the Commonwealth, because they were still finishing up their engineering education, in essence retroactively changed representations made to these folks when they entered into their engineering education. The belief is that it'll affect somewhere between 6 and 8 total people, but is just a kind of a fairness cleanup issue. And you'll see there is a note from KPPA that staff has distributed that basically acknowledges the fairly negligible impact of this change. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Miller, these most of these changes were brought about or suggestions of the PPOB board. Is that correct?
Yes. These various issues have been discussed in PPOB over the years.
Very good. Any questions for Representative Miller? If not, a motion will be in order.
So moved.
We have a motion from Senator Alvarado. Have a second? Second from Senator Storm. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel.
Aye.
Senator McGarvey. Senator Nemes.
Aye.
Senator Schroeder. Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Storm. Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler. Senator Mills.
I vote aye. House Bill 776 passes with favorable expression, 10-0. We also have a title amendment. Could I have a motion on the title amendment? We have a motion from Senator Schroeder, a second from Senator Alvarado on the title amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Very good. And is there any interest on consent?
Motion for consent.
I have a motion for consent from Senator Thayer, second from Senator McDaniel. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? This bill moves to our consent calendar. And then finally, Representative Miller has House Bill 297, which is another pension bill. I will allow him to discuss the first part of the bill, and then Ms. Blackhans will explain the second part of the committee sub that I've offered.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 297 is a housekeeping bill. Housekeeping bills are always long. This is no exception. It's 170 pages. It's technical in nature. It resolves technical conflicts between bills previously passed in the last few sessions. There are other changes just to make the systems more efficient. They have little to no fiscal impact. Housekeeping bills typically do not blaze new policy ground, and typically past policy disputes are not included in them. So basically, the essence of the bill, the heart of the bill, is it clarifies language, it adds definitions, administrative changes to facilitate disability retirement issues. Section 15 reflects changes necessitated by the decision of the Federal Sixth Circuit Court. And finally, it has an emergency clause due to that court ruling. Section 2 does have some policy changes and revises some issues that have been left unsettled over the last couple of years. And I'd like to ask Ms. Blackhans if she would come to the table. And, oh, sorry. Well, a new wing person. Introduce yourself.
Miss Carroll, if you'd like to address the committee sub that was offered here.
Brianna Carroll, Director of Public Affairs for the Kentucky League of Cities. This language, we worked with Senator Higdon and several others, including the sponsor. It simply just adds language that requires the KPPA to report the annual allocation of administrative expenses as well as the investment expenses for the CERS and KRS board by November 15th of each year.
Okay, and then it also in
Clar-
section. Yeah, if you want to go ahead with that
Okay.
second.
It also provides, it clarifies and confirms that the assets in the pension trust funds and the health insurance trust funds are attributed properly based on the members and the systems with no crossover benefits when they are paid. So this is supported by the CERS members of the coalition as well.
Yes.
And there was a little consternation or little differences between House and Senate versions when these separation bills were originally passed, and I think it's appropriate that Senate is the one that weighs in last on them.
I was personally in a room of about 15 or 16 people discussing this committee sub, so it has been discussed. So is there a motion on the committee sub? We have a motion from Senator Wheeler, a second from Senator Alvarado on the committee sub. All in favor of adopting the committee sub, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Now the before us is the bill as sub, and we have a question from Senator Southworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually have two questions to start with, and being 189 pages, I just didn't get stuck past here last night. I tried again this morning. I can't get past it. Page 14, we have the Public Pension Authority is adopting a written salary and classification plan, fixing a range of compensation and written terms of employment for any of the unclassified employees. And right before that, it was saying on page 13, approval by the authority shall be required for a petition to the Secretary of the Personnel Cabinet for the creation of any new unclassified position pursuant to this 18A Section 115. Can you speak to exactly who we're talking about here?
Senator Southworth, if you don't mind, I did not have a copy of the sub, so I'm going to ask Ms. Carroll to help me out on this.
Well,
Would you give me the reference again?
Page 13 and 14 of the sub.
Is that section 2?
We're talking about unclassified positions, the KPPA and personnel having to approve before personnel can move forward. The other main question I had was on page 28, where we're saying the testimonial statements of the person applying for disability retirement does not qualify as objective medical evidence. So those are the two issues I'd like to hear. To me, this is more than just housekeeping. I may be missing something, but this to me is a substantive change that's a lot for shoving into a 189-page bill.
I do have someone from KPPA with me, if he would join us and introduce himself. For technical questions, I need that assistance. Go ahead.
I can answer the first one. As far as the approval of the board for the, were you asking specifically for the unclassified employees for the investment?
Yes. Well, that in page 13 is
right.
1 E, G, H, and I don't have the letters memorized. I know 115, but I don't know the letters.
Okay. So specifically to 1, those are removing the investment employees out from 18A. That has been long discussed during the Public Pension Oversight Board. There are restrictions right now for salaries, and there are concerns that we are struggling to maintain employees at the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority because we can't compete. There are restrictions for the salaries, and so I can let Mr. Eager speak to that.
So my name is Michael Board.
Oh.
I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Legal Services at the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority. And so I will echo what was said there about the sections Senator Southworth identified there. When it comes to our Office of Investments, being competitive in the job market is difficult with when we're constrained by the confines of Chapter 18A and the salaries we can pay. So the sections there are designed to give us the flexibility and the opportunity to be competitive and hire the qualified people we need to run our Office of Investments without those salary constraints. And so that's what those positions are designed to do, and it requires the board to approve the salary bands, salary ranges for those positions.
And descriptions.
And the position descriptions, which would then empower our executive director to then hire those people once the board has approved those position descriptions and the salary ranges.
Right. And the bill allows for 6. Currently, they have 2, so essentially it's a movement from 2 to 6.
That was something that was important for the members of CERS, especially, to make sure that there was definitely some oversight from the board perspective and not just a staff.
And just as another point on that, this will enable us to also bring in more of our asset management in-house when we hire this type of talent and management talent in-house, which will cut down on the management fees we're paying.
And the other question about objective medical evidence, I'll allow Mr. Board to comment on it, but essentially it's just the testimony of an individual is not medical evidence. But why don't you expand on that?
And forgive me, I don't have the case name in front of me. The case happened before my time at KPPA. I'm sorry.
The McManus?
It may be the McManus case. It may be another case that's related to that comes from that. But it's from a court case in which the testimony of an individual who was testifying before a hearing officer was basically given the same weight as objective medical evidence. And objective medical evidence is defined by statute of what that is. And the testimony of an individual who was not a doctor, who was actually the member affected by the decision, was given equal weight to that objective medical evidence. And so we're just trying to clean up that definition to make clear that the testimony of a layperson who is clearly going to be impacted by this decision can't be given that equal weight as objective medical evidence as defined by statute.
Senator Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank my colleague Senator Southworth for bringing this up, because I have done a few retirement disability cases in front of a hearing officer before, and the McManus case has become problematic, and I'm not. I mean, most of this bill I'm 99.9% okay with, but I would consider this a substantive change. And I won't belabor the whole case, but based on one single statement in a medical record, a pre-existing allegation was made. And I guess the McManus case at that point shifts the burden to the claimant to come forward with quote-unquote objective medical evidence to disprove that pre-existing allegation. Well, the problem was she'd never gone to the doctor before, and you know, there wasn't any record out there that we were able to come up with, and you know, that created a problem in the case. So I mean, the testimony in the hearing officer believed the testimony. So I do have a little bit of an issue with that. Would you all possibly be receptive to a floor amendment removing that section? Because, I mean, it can have substantive effects in certain people's cases, and I have practiced these before.
I think KPPA would be happy to talk to you about it. It's within your all's rules.
Yeah, and this was not the McManus case. This was from the Elder case.
Okay.
And so it's a different case name. It's a different case that resulted in this request to be included. So
very good. Any other questions or concerns? Is there a motion on the bill? We have a motion from Senator Alvarado, second from Senator McDaniel. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel.
Cast my vote and explain.
Yes, you may.
I'm going to cast an aye vote and just take a brief moment here. You know, there's a lot of quotes that compare politics and sports. Most of them are fairly noble, but my favorite is one that says politics is like sports for ugly people. And the problem is, for guys like Representative Miller and myself, the nerds amongst the politicians really get interested in pensions. And in 2013, Representative Miller, I was on my first session, and some crazy guy from Metro Council comes running down the hall with this paper of pension ideas. And that was the first time I met Jerry Miller. And since we've been here, we started at an absolute financial precipice. I would say that we were probably greatly concerned about the very real potential of default inside of the pension system. That we said many a times, we hit one more blip and this thing's going under. And you have kept a singularity of focus and an amount of effort that has been unparalleled. And it's one of those areas that just doesn't get a lot of attention. It has because it's been such a crisis, but it will fade into the background again. And I think the people of this Commonwealth will never understand the debt of gratitude that they owe you for the service that you put in what you did when you came here. So I want to thank you sincerely and tell you I will miss you a lot.
Thank you very much, Senator. I appreciate that very deeply.
Senator McGarvey. Senator Nemes.
Explain my vote.
Yes, you may.
My I vote, and I just want to reiterate that Representative Miller will be definitely missed on many fronts. Thank you.
Senator Schroeder. Senator Southworth.
Explain my no vote, Mr. President.
Yes, you may.
I haven't been able to finish this bill because every time I flip to another page, there's more about this whole medical objective evidence, and giving weight to testimony actually brings up more questions than answers. And I maybe need to go read this case, but my understanding is the finder of fact decides how to weight the evidence. And I might be missing something. I'll go review it. But for right now, that's a major concern when we sit here in statute and tell a finder of fact how to weight evidence, when in a lot of these cases you don't have that kind of, the evidence you want to see is fanciful. It doesn't exist. Who was there? It was the person that got injured. Finder of fact can sit there, and we do this all the time when we deal with issues. How to sort out the bias versus, lobbyists are crawling all over this place. How to sort out the bias, right? That's what we do. We got to sort out the bias and figure out what the truth might have been, but it certainly doesn't require us to put weight one here and one there. So I got to be a no for right now, but I hope if we can get that out of there, I'm assuming the rest of this actually is house cleaning. Thank you.
Senator Storm.
Explain my aye vote.
Yes, you may.
I would vote aye today, and I would concur in the comments made by Senator Wheeler, and hopefully that conversation takes place. Thank you.
Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler.
Mr. Chairman, explain my aye vote.
Yes, you can.
I am going to vote aye today to move this bill along because I think the intentions are good, but I do have some great concerns that have been voiced by Senator Southworth, and I think that there may need to be a floor amendment here to make sure everybody that applies for these benefits are treated fairly, which I know is the intention here. I don't think anybody wants to mistreat anybody. I just think that, as Senator Southworth says, sometimes whether a medical record exists or not is sometimes it's not there, and all we have to go on is substantive testimony. And I can give you dozens of instances in my practice where medical records are incorrect. That does happen, and sometimes the testimony and other extrinsic evidence can be used to fix that. And I think the finder of fact does have or need the opportunity to weigh credibility and that sort of thing. So I think most of the bill, 99.9% of it, I'm okay with, but she does raise a valid issue.
Senator Mills.
I vote aye, and I'd just like to comment as well. I'm one of those folks on PPOB that have seen the work that Representative Miller is doing, and I'm one that struggles with stuff of this nature, and I'm on there just because of where I'm at on this board. And there's a lot of substantial work that's done on the PPOB, and it has placed our Commonwealth and our pensioners and pension systems in a much better shape than they were since from 2016 on. So thank you, Representative Miller, for your time and your efforts in the General Assembly. And House Bill 297, as amended by committee sub, passes with favorable expression 9-1 and shall move on. That is all the work before our committee, and if there's a motion to adjourn, we'll be adjourned. All righty. Thank you so much.